Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RAMP, Real Access Motivates Progress, live Wednesday night podcast. I am so excited to be with all of you tonight because I have been waiting for this show for almost a year because I have been such a big fan of my guest tonight. So, without further ado, please welcome Josh and Katie to the show. Welcome, guys.
It's great to be here tonight. Thank you, Tina.
Thanks for having us.
I am so excited for the world to hear all about you guys if they don't already know, because you guys are already out there all over the place. But Josh, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So who I am, what I do. So I guess I am 36 years old, and my journey is kind of a half life, half my life. Up till 18 years old, I was on my 2 feet, living, loving, running around, playing sports, and then on a family vacation at the beach when I was 18, a wave picked me up and threw me over my boogie board in the ocean and slammed me headfirst against the ocean floor. That day, I shattered my neck. I became paralyzed below my shoulders. I was in the critical unit on the ventilator for the next 4 weeks. And when I woke up, I remember not being able to speak. And the only way I could communicate was by blinking once for yes and twice for no. And it was waking up from being completely independent, and then waking up dependent on others. It was a big change in life, especially as a teenager, when I finally found some independence as a college student. But when I did regain my voice after weaning off the ventilator, I remember I made sure from that moment on that every word counted. And that's the day I became an advocate for life. And since then, I've been on a mission to keep moving forward, wheeling forward, and going after my dreams. Went to community college, went to undergrad, graduated magna cum laude from law school. I'm now a practicing trial attorney, doing medical malpractice and catastrophic injury work, focused in the Washington, D.C. area and really all across the country. I have families calling me for help. And I started a foundation called Determined to Heal, where we focus on simplifying the transition into life for newly injured families living with paralysis. And we try to empower them, let them know that they're not alone in their journey, that anything is possible with the right attitude, a little creativity, and a willingness to try. So we do a lot with families from a mentoring standpoint. We have a video mentoring website called spinalpedia.com, where we now have over 24,000 videos broken down by physical functionality. You put your exact movement in, and you have mentors to show you what's possible. And so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Somebody else out there has figured out many different ways of doing things. And so if you can learn from the community, you can figure out, does that work for you? And that give you some ideas on how you could do it yourself. And then we also do lots of adventures. I'd love to dive deeper into that later. What we do to get people out of their homes and to live with adventurous wheels. And probably my most proud accomplishment over the years was being able to fall in love with the most amazing partner in the world. We'll tell you a little bit about how we met and what we've created together, and our future and everything that's really coming together. And I'm just very honored to be here tonight, and I'd love to open the floor to Katie.
Okay. It's hard to follow in that. But I'm Katie Fava. I'm a school psychologist for Fairfax County Public Schools. I am Josh's proud partner and mom to two beautiful children, Fable and Calder.
You can tell us a little bit more than that. I want to hear the story of how you guys met and fell in love. Come on, give me a little more than that.
It's about him, right?
This is about both of you.
It's about us.
So I was back on the market after not being on the market for 10 years. So how does a single mom find a partner these days when you're working full time? obviously match.com.
It's a good place.
It's a good place. So that's where we met and we started talking, and I, fell in love with his profile photo. He's just absolutely gorgeous. But very intimidated once we started talking and said we were going to go on a date. I mean, you have to Google people nowadays to make sure that they're, not going to murder you on the first date. And when you Google Josh Basil, you get like 40 pages on Google. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, who is this guy? And the more and more I read about him, just like the more I realized he was an incredible human, not just simply good looking. So yeah, the rest is kind of history.
We ended up taking we went out to date to a Thai restaurant on the first date, and it was delicious food, delicious company. And it was just, I knew I wanted to have a second, third, fourth, and 20, as many dates after that as possible with her. I definitely knew she had all the right pieces of the puzzle that I was looking for.
And Josh
That's
is
amazing.
he's the only individual I've ever known with a spinal cord injury. So,
Prior to that.
Prior to that, yes, so it was interesting to kind of jump back into the dating scene and, to have this piece of information. There's also this, like, I wonder if, like, what is this gonna look like? There's a little more to that. And then, the question, like, if we
Yeah.
get further. And it was just such a wonderful part of our conversation to just kind of learn, like from the get-go. Josh told me, he's like, look, I have caregiving. He's like, I'm not looking for a caregiver, I am looking for a partner. And that was so important for him to be able to put out there. And I know that's
Right.
something that is really difficult within the spinal cord injury community, because a lot of partners are forced into that caregiving role simply because that's the way that the system is set up. So for us to be able to have that conversation, and for Josh to have, been able to create, systems within the system that he could say that, and was a big deal. Like, that's one of the things that was able to propel our relationship forward, was knowing that we could just be a couple with each other.
That's amazing. And that draws me into my next question, because we're gonna throw the elephant in the room out there to everybody, because how was it that you were able to just want to date somebody with a spinal cord? Because that takes on its own outgoing thing. And then your family and friends, how did they deal with it? It's hard enough dating in the real world nowadays, that you add this on, it's just a whole nother circumstance. Like, how did that all fall into place? I mean, I've met Josh and I met you. You're just amazing people, but I want the world to know how it is and what it's like.
Well, I had left a marriage with somebody who was fully able-bodied, who was not the least bit helpful. and I realized that there's so much more, and when Josh and I started talking, like, I realized the kind of person that he was. He's exceptionally hardworking. Never seen anybody work as hard as Josh does. And he puts family first, and he makes time for friends, and he has these amazing friends. Like, I just kept meeting them, and I'm like, anybody that surrounds themselves with, like, this, like, top tier people, like, this has to be a good person. And just the way he talked about himself and self-improvement and what he was looking for in life, and the adventures that he goes on, like, I just knew he was going to be a wonderful partner. And we've learned how to be with each other as well. Like, it was scary. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was scary to figure out, like, what is it going to be like knowing that I'm never going to get a hug from my partner? Like, that's just never going to happen, right? Like, when I come home and I've had a hard day, like, it would be nice if somebody could rub my back. But it's not going to happen, So
Right.
I really had to have that very mature conversation with myself and with Josh about, like, these are the things that I'm basically giving up, but I know that I'm getting these other things that are more important for me. And how am I going to fill in those holes, which really center around touch, like, how do I get those touches, throughout, our relationship? And so I do things like I go and get massages, right? Or, like I spend extra time cuddling my kids, or we find ways to be physically close together. And it takes creativity, but thankfully we're very creative people.
And that's awesome. I always like to say, and I know I'm aging myself here, but we end up being like little MacGyvers. We figure out how to do things that normal people don't do, or I say normal, but what is actual normal? But what other people, able-bodied people do that we can't do, but we find a new normal for what it is. We find a new way of doing it. And I think that's amazing. I just absolutely love your story. But how did your family and friends, deal with the whole, did they have a hard time?
My family had a little bit of an easier time. I think going for finding someone like Kate, like, go Josh, you're the man, bring it home, lock it down. Katie's might have been a little different.
Yeah, so it was very difficult to convince my family that Josh was going to be my forever partner. There were all these questions of like, well, can he protect you? Or, are you going to be able to get everything you need out of the relationship? Or aren't you just signing up for a harder life? And those were really challenging conversations. I mean, and in the beginning, it was hard and it was sad to not feel like your relationship is being supportive, particularly when I know, like, I found this amazing person. And one conversation that I had with my family is I'm like, I want you to just kind of take a seat back, right? And I want you to imagine that it was me or it was your grandchildren who had this catastrophic injury. Do you not feel that they would be worthy of love from somebody who didn't have any physical challenges? And they're like, of course not. I'm like, well, then why would it be any different? And it was that like, well, you have this choice. Why are you choosing? And I think it was just us just kind of proving again and again, who we were and that this was authentic and that, again, we're both creative. And I think our best quality, probably a quality that you need to have, is you have to have a sense of humor. And I think we go through life just laughing with each other, and it works, and it works so well. And there's often times when, I mean, I know this is going to sound super cheesy, but like we're doing things and I just forget that Josh has a spinal cord injury, right? Like when we're just like all sitting on the couch together and we're all snuggling, it's like it doesn't exist at that moment in time. When it takes multiple people to then get him off the couch and exist again. but there's just, like it's just become like our rhythm. And just like anything,
Yeah.
it just starts to flow.
You can just see the love between the two of you, the way you look each other, the way you handle each other. And, it's just amazing. And, the world needs to see this because we deserve to have love too, no matter what happened to us. Because again, I'm a spinal cord injury as well. I've only been in a wheelchair for 8 years. Like, does my life stop? Do I not deserve love anymore? You know what I mean? So it's so refreshing to have this, which brings me to our next portion, because you are parents. So I want to hear, Josh, I know how ecstatic you are about being a dad because you beam when you talk about it. So tell us a little bit about the process and, what it's like being a quadriplegic dad.
So to become a quadriplegic dad, it started off as a science experiment. So we ended up going the in vitro fertilization route, which took a lot on Katie to be able to get her body in a place to produce the eggs. Took very little for me just to give some sperm, but like the heavy lifting from the beginning of our parenting journey of our new child, of our Katie's second child, my first child, was on Katie. So I played an important role, but Katie played the most important role.
And I think our journey is very similar, right, to a lot of the individuals who, the male is the one with the spinal cord injury. And they're looking to have a family. Is IVF tends to be like one of the most utilized options for having a baby.
And when we had our eggs, the eggs were fertilized, 3 of them were viable. And then Katie, you tell the story how you surprised me.
Yes. So we have a daughter from my first marriage. And so we were hopeful that we would have a boy. So, one of each. And I got the results. And when the nurse line called me, you could tell they were a little bit nervous because she's like, well, they are all, and I was like, oh, it's either going to be, there's 2 options here. And she's like, they are all male. And I was like, yay. And she's like, oh, you can tell she was relieved. She's like, I think this woman's going to be happy or she's going to be upset. So anyway, so I got just some like Easter eggs and I just wrote, boy, inside of each of them. And I put them, I gave them to Josh. I was like, all right, here are eggs. You want to crack them open and see what they are? And so we opened them one at a time and he got to see that,
3 boys.
we had 3 shots at having a little boy. And thankfully the first one, he is perfect. Absolutely perfect. So we've got 2 more boys on ice if that ever tickles our fancy.
And we just,
Oh, that's amazing.
we got so lucky. We were doing these renovations to get ready so that, because when we moved into our house about a year prior, and the house, we had to get an elevator in it. The upstairs was not renovated. There wasn't a wheelchair accessible bathroom. And about 3 months prior to Calder joining the world, we ended up rushing to get the upstairs renovated and ready for us. And then Calder, Kitty, our Babel, our daughter, was 2 weeks late. But then Calder, of course, was ready to party a little earlier, and he came 2 weeks early.
5 weeks.
Oh, geez.
5 weeks early, almost 6.
That was 2.5 weeks.
Nope.
Oh, okay. It was 2.5 weeks. Right?
Absolutely not.
Okay. It was a preemie 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. No, he was, so babies are born at 40 weeks, right? And he was born at 35 weeks and 6 days.
Okay. So there you go. He was born way early. But we were then rushing to get the renovations done so that we could all kind of be together as a family finally, because we were living on different floors for a little while the elevator and the upstairs was being renovated. But finally, Calder comes, he's 6.5 pounds, he's healthy, he's beautiful. And it's just, I remember from the moment I first saw him, I couldn't believe he was real. Like it was probably like, I was having trouble just like breathing because it was just like surreal that like looking at this little guy that I was part of creating him, and he was perfect. He was healthy, and we got to bring him home, and it was just a magical days. And crazy part about it, it was 6 months yesterday. So Calder turned 6 months yesterday, and it's each one of those days. It's just like watching him grow, and he's already tripled in size. He's a big boy.
He's a beast.
And he's just at the stage right now where he's just so happy, all giggles, all smiles, and finding different ways, like Katie said before, for us to find ways to have those touches. I just really went in, my approach to life with a little creativity, a willingness to try, finding ways to get closer to them. One of the ways I love doing it is being in bed and going on my side, or having him in my armpit area and resting there. But when I'm in my chair and not being able to lift him, I had to figure out other ways of doing that. So I ended up connecting with Johns Hopkins students. They're about 45 minutes away from where we live. And I ended up creating like a competition where I reached out to their engineering department, and next thing I know, I had 20 students wanting to help develop a wheelchair accessible baby carrier that would mount to my wheelchair. And the next thing I know, the students created this incredible design. And now I can have Calder within like a foot to 2 feet from my face in my lap, just there, wheeling around, totally secure and safe. And I get to bring him around the house. I can wheel through the neighborhood, bring him to the pool, go through fields, and we're together. I'm able to see him and be able to see him laugh, see him breathe, be able to talk to him, tell him stories. And then we've figured out a lot of different garments and a body apparel to be able to attach him to my chest and to be able to carry him around with different straps, with different shirts, with different harnesses, and learning what all the different ones has been really fun. And as he grows, kind of different ones become better than others. It's been such a fun learning process. And at the same time, just really, it's just a dream come true to be able to see it from the beginning. I got very, very spoiled having, Fable coming into my life at the age of 2. Like, she is a perfect daughter. Like, she's such a great little girl, full of energy, full of personality, and she's just a dream daughter. But I got her at 2. I had no idea what 0 to 2 was like. So I got very spoiled. But now I get to do it from the beginning, and to do it with like the best partner in the world, and learning from Katie. Like, Katie knows kids front and back. Like, she has 3 master's degrees and she's going after getting her doctorate. And kids better than anybody can possibly do her. It's much of making mistakes and practicing and getting yourself in the game and trying to just being present is so much of what parenting's about. And to be
You
able to
guys
do-
are just like the model couple. You really are like the model couple, for everybody, because you're paving ways, Josh, for other people to see that this is okay, that this can be possible, that this can be done with a little, ingenuity and thoughtfulness. It can be done. And like I said, you guys are just an incredible couple. I am just so excited for everything that you do, and everybody needs to follow your story in everything that you do, because to watch this journey, it's new for you and you're living it, but we're all living it through you. And it's truly amazing. I mean, I was 50 this year and my kids are 25 and 22. So yes, I'm giving away, I'm old. So I never had to do it from a wheelchair, but now I have grandchildren. So I'm doing it with my grandchildren. So I see it, I hear it, but I can move my arms, I can pick them up. I just can't move my legs. So I can't imagine how much more difficult it is for you, but you're just a model couple. And I am just so excited for both of you. And the love between you is just truly incredible.
Thank you, Tina.
Thanks.
But like the wheelchair, there's perks to having the wheelchair. Like, I'm always able to drive them around wherever they want to go, up hills, down hills. I'm like a little jungle gym. Fable's all over me, climbing, getting laps. She gets tired. She's got a free ride. Calder. The wheelchair can hold a lot of weight. So really strapping him to my chest, strapping to parts of my wheelchair. I can carry him everywhere.
And as a mom, he can carry all the baby bags as well. We get the best parking spots when we go to like the zoo and the water parks. So there's lots of.
Well, wait till they get older. Yeah, wait till they get older and you hook the carriage, the wagon up to the back of your wheelchair and you're the carnival ride for all of their friends, because that's what I get to do now. We're the fun, cool grandma that gets to drive them around, and we're different. So, that's all part of that as well. But as much as I could talk for like 2 hours all on this, I want to make sure that we have time to talk about all of the other amazing things that you do. Tell everybody about Spinopedia.
So Spinalpedia, when I was first injured, I had a bunch of mentors that came into my life to show me what was possible. And just the power of mentoring, I knew I wanted to share my story, but every level of a spinal cord injury branches out to a different body part, a different sensory, motor, movement, and every level of injury needs a different mentor to show you what's possible. Because like mentoring you, yes, we have commonalities because we speak spinal cord. but at the same day, we live different lives from a quadriplegic to a paraplegic. So every level of injury needed different mentors, and being able to take videos that now exist on the internet, that now live forever, and to be able to organize them in different categories, subcategories, make them searchable, make them even further searchable through tags, through functionality. And being able to do that, I know I just, as long as I created a system that it could be uploaded from the community, by the community, for the community, we could have something really special to empower the world. And I know for myself, I'm always learning from others. I will always be a mentor, and I will always be a mentee. I will never stop learning with this journey that I'm on. And to be able to create a platform that allows that to thrive is what Spinalpedia is all about. When I was first injured, I got connected with this guy, Tim Strachan. He was injured 10 years earlier than me on the same beach, about, I think, 3 or 4 doors down from where I was. He dove in the water, hit a sandbar, broke his neck. And he was an All-American football player in high school, had a full ride to play at Penn State. And that came to an end when he broke his neck. He went back to a community college, went to undergrad, went to law school, fell in love. He ended up getting married and had kids. And that just showed me that if Tim can do it, I can do it too. So I decided to follow in Tim's wheel tracks. And I haven't done the marriage part, and that's another thing. Like, on the first date that I was on with Katie, I told her, like, flat out, that if we ever got married, I would lose all my caregiving. I'm like, that this is a reality of being a quadriplegic in the Medicaid system. All my caregiving comes through Medicaid. And I let her know, though, I would fight to change the rules, to change the laws. And
I said, can we just finish our pad thai first? Let's make a done date, but okay.
I want to be upfront on the realities that I do have caregiving, but it also comes with some baggage of a lot of rules and regulations governing my life, whether governing how much I can make from an income, how much I can save with assets, whether we get married, your assets become joint assets, and then we get kicked out of the program. But for the last 3.5 years, I've been fighting to change those rules. And I was able to get the governor's administration to agree that in October of this year, they're going to lift all income and asset limits, which would potentially allow us to get married. So, and that's going to be for everybody in the state of Maryland that is enrolled and employed individuals with disabilities, which is known as a Medicaid buy-in program. So these programs were created to help workers with disabilities that rely on Medicaid to make more income, save more income, and be able to access their Medicaid services while being employed. So 45 out of 50 states have Medicaid buy-in programs. And what's trending right now is in different states, and I would want to push anybody listening to this, in your state, it's based on different rules and limits, and those limits can be changed with advocacy, whether you can do it through the administration of the state or by passing new laws within your state's legislature. You can get those rules changed. Just this past year in January, New Jersey lifted income, asset, age limits, and marital inclusion, spousal inclusion within their Medicaid buy-in program.
Huge.
So we just got to get more and more states to lift these barriers, because it's definitely putting limits on workers with disabilities. And work is hard enough. You shouldn't have to work and work to maintain your benefits. Like, it's way too much.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We need to have all 50 states on board, and we deserve the right to be happy and to still have the caregiving and to still have the needs that we have. And on the flip side of that, people who get injured after they're married, if they're in an unhappy marriage, they need to have the right to get a divorce and not be poor and not have to suffer because of that. So we're working on that as well over here. So it works both ways, but it's just so very, very important. And we thank you for all of your advocacy. And we're lucky enough to have Congressman Langevin in our state. So a lot of this is, already being taken care of, but I keep on him. So we're going to keep him around after he retires. He's not going anywhere. He's going to stay part of RAMP. So we're not letting him go too far. So we're all good with that. But
Yeah.
tell us about Determined to Heal as well.
So Determined to Heal is the nonprofit. It's basically the parent company of Spinalpedia. So Determined to Heal is a 501c3 nonprofit foundation, and we do both mentoring. We do our adventures. So we have Living with Adventurous Wheels is another program of Determined to Heal, and that's where we get families out of their homes and in the community doing really fun things. So we have all these different events, around 15 different adventures families can choose from. And basically I will put together a group of events, whether it's with 1 or 2 people, sometimes 5 people, sometimes 10. I put on events with 70 people. And basically we'll organize them, make sure we have all of the volunteers and safety precautions in place. And I basically invite people to come, pay for their adventures, make sure that everything, all their costs are covered so that they can focus on having fun and making memories with their families. Some of our adventures are going, it can be indoor skydiving, where you get like an air suit on and basically wheel up to it with your chair to the door. They throw you head first into a wind chamber, and 100-mile-per-hour winds lift you up and you're flying.
That's awesome.
We do sit skiing on snow. We do sit skiing with water skiing. We do gliding, which is we fly in the air. You get into a little airplane, a plane tows it up into the sky, releases it, and it glides without an engine. And you just basically can go in circles, go around a mountain and find lift against the mountain, and it takes you up to 5,000 feet. We've done craziest things. Craziest thing is probably doing hang gliding, where we did the same thing where a plane pulls up the hang glider. I'm like in a hammock on my tummy, and it lets you off about 3,000 feet in the air, and you just soar like a bird. We do a ton of adaptive sailing, which I know you're going to go on the boat this weekend, but the Impossible Dream is an incredible catamaran. And over the years, we've brought at least 100, probably around 200 families over the years onto this incredible 60-foot catamaran that at any given moment you can have 10 power wheelchairs on it. You just get to spend the afternoon, the evening on the water, surrounded by wind, the sun, and just beautiful times. And another crazy adventure we once did was we chartered that catamaran, the Impossible Dream, and we ended up bringing 2 other families that were paralyzed, and we went from Key West in Florida all the way down to Cuba. Spent 4 nights in Cuba. I introduced a sport I invented called slingshot golf to a Cuban paraplegic, and then we sailed back home, and it was across shark-infested waters, but we made it home safely, and it was a blast. So much of what we try to do with the adventures is to turn heads. Like, really, I love getting any person without a disability to be like, what the heck is going on? Why is there so many chairs, and what are they doing? That looks really fun. Like, I want to try that. Like, it's with the right attitude, fun things can really happen. Before my injury, I tell a lot of families that I mentor that before my injury, I did things 1 million ways. After my injury, I now do it 1 million new ways, 1 million different ways. And all those new and different ways can be really fun. They might look differently. They might be done differently. They might feel differently, but different can still be pretty darn memorable. And I love loving making memories with everybody that's in my life.
I totally agree with that, because I have done more since being in a wheelchair than I ever did walking. I take risks. I'm not supposed to be here now, but I am. So we might as well go and have fun with it. But I'll tell you, one of the most fun things that I did was I went surfing with a bunch of amputees. I should have brought a GoPro, because all of the hands and legs sticking out of the sand while they're all surfing, is I would love to see the people just coming around the corner and seeing that. It's like a Stephen King movie. It's fantastic. And like you said, there's where the sense of humor comes in. But I just cannot wait. And we were just talking earlier that I'm going to come out and do an adventure or two with you soon. So that way we can live stream all of that and everybody can get a sense of everything that you do. But tell everybody how they can get involved or how they can be a sponsor of all of your great adventures to help more people live more full of lives like you do.
So coming out to going online to determine the number 2 heal.org. You can go on our website. You can go to the donate page where we have a PayPal portal to make a donation. And then during the holiday season, we do a huge fundraising campaign to raise money for all the different programs, all of our employees, all the different services to make sure everything is free for all the families that we're helping. Another service that we're doing right now that we'd love to get support behind is a good friend of mine created an app in the UK and elsewhere in the world called Fuel Service. And it's an app designed to help drivers with disabilities connect with local gas stations so that they can then come out and fill up your gas tank for free. Obviously, you have to pay for the gas, but they'll come out to your car so you never have to get out of your vehicle and fill up your gas tank for you. He was having a lot of trouble connecting with the US market. He came to me, he's like, Josh, what can we do to make this happen? I know a lot of people, and whenever I put my mind to something, I do everything in my power to make it happen. And over the last year, we went from having 0 stations, 1,000 stations up the East Coast. So everybody I know that is a driver, the app, it's called Fuel Service, and it's within the Google App Store. It's on Android for Google Play. You go there, you download the app. It's 100% free for you, and it's a big thing the more we use it, or it's important for us to use it, because if we don't, we might lose it. So we got to show that the gas stations that this is a vital service and drivers with disabilities need help.
I wish I would have known that when I drove to Florida and back by myself. So that would have been helpful.
Yeah,
But now when I come out to visit you, at least now I can use it.
yeah, next road trip.
Yeah. Oh, I am so excited. You guys just do so very much. And we're just so blessed to have you out and about and doing everything. Tell everybody the biggest takeaway from everything that you have been through in your life.
Perspective is a superpower. So often people focus on what they can't do, and it ends up creating a life or a day, a moment that feels like an uphill battle. But if you choose to focus on what you can do rather than what you cannot, life starts to become a lot easier, because you start having more confidence, more say that, you know what, if I can do this, this is what I can do. And it becomes almost like an even playing field. And sometimes when you get really good at it, a downhill movement where, that next challenge, that next barrier becomes that much easier to accomplish, or just any daily task becomes easy to accomplish because you're focusing on what you can do. So like what I can do is I can move my mouth, I can think, I tackle my day through technology. And I'm very, I said in the beginning that I was independent growing up, and my injury made me dependent. But I'm dependent on my caregivers. I am dependent on technology, but through my caregivers, through my technology, I become independent. And that's just a way of thinking. It's a perspective. And being able to utilize all the different perspectives I have and realize that life is full of incredible moments ahead if you put yourself out there and you give it a shot. I love saying yes, because I know there's a lot of opportunities out there and a lot of life to live. And so I definitely want people to know that if you can tap into your perspective, it can be it can be an important superpower in your life for you to accomplish everyday activities and to fall in love, to go on that date, to find that person, to trick her into falling in love with you, all that good stuff. It's just, life is beautiful, and I never, after my injury, I never stopped dreaming, I never stopped believing. And falling in love with Katie, becoming a dad to Fable, becoming a dad to Calder, like it's a dream come true. And I knew I never stopped dreaming. I never stopped fighting for that future. And there's just so many beautiful days ahead. And I get to do it with the most incredible people ever. And just surrounding yourself with beautiful people. It definitely
You are incredible. And one of the words I hate to use or have anybody use for me is inspirational, but seriously, there's all eyes on you. You know what I mean? You never know who you're inspiring to do, and you're helping so many people like you, like me, know that disability is not a bad word. It is just a different way of doing things, and everything is adaptable. Everything is possible as long as you have a new perspective and you try. Katie, do you want to give us any last words from your perspective? What it's like for your life.
So I work in public schools, right? And one thing that has become so important and so talked about in the public school sector is universal design, right? So universal design for learning and universal design for accessibility. And I believe that there are universal designs for relationships as well. And when we are working together as a team and trying to figure out, like, how are we going to go forward so that it works for everybody in this partnership and everybody in this family, those are the conversations that it makes everything work, right? Like, again, like Josh said, like you said, everything is adaptable, right? Like relationships are adaptable too. And I'm just so glad that I clicked on Josh's profile and I didn't let, a wheelchair stand in the way of finding my true love. Like it's the best. It's the best when you find your person. And that's what I did. So
yeah,
go outside your comfort zone. It's a good thing.
Well, you guys are so amazing, and everybody stay tuned. Make sure you check out Determined to Heal and Spinalpedia and with the incredible Josh, because he is amazing. And stay tuned, because I will be down in Maryland or somewhere with Josh, and we will be doing incredible things together. And Katie's going to cook for me because she actually went to school here in Rhode Island to Johnson and Wales. So now that I know that, she needs to cook for me because I have to test out her cooking skills. But we will be doing a lot of things together, and we will support you every step of the way, because what you're doing is incredible things for all of us. So thank you both so much for taking the time tonight and being on our show. I cannot thank you. Like I said, this was just I have so much more to say. So we may have you guys back because we have a lot more to cover, but we only have a certain amount of time tonight. So thank you for taking the time, and we will definitely be in touch with you guys soon.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Tina.
And I invite everybody back next week. I don't know how you can top a story like this, but next week we are talking to the incredible Meals on Wheels, which I am so excited to be talking to them and all that they have accomplished. So as I always say, change your perspective and don't just sit there, make a difference. See everybody next week.
I'm Chaz Kalenda, and I'm running to be the next Rhode Island Attorney General. I practiced law for the last 16 years, 12 of them in the office of the Attorney General, so I have the knowledge and experience to do that job at a high level. I'm not here to fight for a political agenda. I'm not here to fight for a special interest. I'm here to fight for the rights of every Rhode Islander, no matter where you come from or no matter what your background is. I'll need your votes on September 13th for the primary election and November 8th for the general election. If you have any questions about where to vote or how to vote, please contact your local Board of Canvassers or the Secretary of State's office or website. I'm not running to be just another politician. I'm running to be a public servant who can serve as a much-needed check and balance on the state of Rhode Island to root out the corruption both inside and outside of our system. We need your support. You can visit my website at chas4ag.com to learn more about me, donate, or volunteer your time. I'm Chas Kalenda, and I approve this message.
His nails. Ashley Kalis was driven to achieve. Today, Kalis is still fueled by that same hope, grit, and determination. A mother of 3 school-aged boys and successful business owner who ran testing and vaccination sites across the state. Kalis is the fighter Rhode Island needs right now because it's time for a change. Ashley Kalis for governor.